Welcome to class 6 on Raspberry Pi programming. Very good afternoon to everyone. This is Madhu Parvatneni. I'll be instructing you in this class on Raspberry Pi programming. So yesterday we all had discussed about Arduino programming and all. So from today and tomorrow we'll be having Raspberry Pi programming. I'll be instructing you how to create edge device on IoT with Python programming and all. So after that we'll be having AWS services, which is AWS IoT Core, where we'll be integrating this Raspberry Pi with AWS IoT Core, and we'll be doing some IoT experiments on it. So today, for about 2 hours, let us explore, what kind of programming syntaxes are there on Raspberry Pi, and slowly we'll have some, hands-on on Raspberry Pi. So Raspberry Pi will not have any simulator, okay? I'm having Raspberry Pi with me right away, and you can explore that Raspberry Pi from your place by using programming. Let's jump into the concept. So before we talk about Raspberry Pi, let us understand what is edge device. What is edge device in IoT? An edge device is an internet connected device having a sensory unit connected to it and actuators connected to it, and always the device will be in a remote area where you can access the device from anywhere across the globe. And today I'm going to create an edge device which is connected with the different sensors and also an actuators. And that device is nothing but Raspberry Pi. That device can be anything, right? It can be a Raspberry Pi, or it can be Orange Pi, or it can be Banana Pi, or it can be Intel Edison, or it can be Intel Galileo, or it can be Intel Vision Kit, okay? It can be any kind of device. It can be any kind of device where it is connected with internet and it is hosted in a remote area. As it is having internet connectivity, you can access the device from anywhere across the globe. How to access this edge device from anywhere across the globe? How to access it? Say, how to access this device? The device is now in Hyderabad at my home. And user, you're all there at different places across AP. And you're all there at different places across AP. And you are having internet connectivity. You're having internet connectivity. And device is also having internet connectivity. If you are having internet connectivity, there is a possibility of communicating with the device, because that device also there is internet connectivity here. And this device can be accessed in two different ways. One, where a device is accessed through cloud, or a device is accessed through a web server, alias web service. Okay, and the device can be accessed through cloud. It means that you should have an account in cloud and thereby device will be also having an account in the cloud, and you can able to communicate through cloud. That is one approach in accessing the device where the device is in a remote area. And the second option is like, device can be accessed through a web service. Okay, web server will be hosted, and you through this server you can able to communicate, and you will be acting as a client, and the device will be acting as a client, and two clients can be communicated over a web server through a web service. And this is also possible in accessing the device when the device and user are having internet connectivity. So these are the two different ways here. Okay, so today I'll be going for second approach. I'll be going for second approach where the device can be accessed through a web service, or you can say through an IoT protocol. Through an IoT protocol. From anywhere across the globe. Okay. So I'm going for second approach where the device can be accessed through a web service, or you can simply say an IoT protocol, so that you can access it from anywhere across the globe. So this is a second approach wherein. So let's talk about this particular approach, where that approach will be giving a possibility to connect with an IoT edge device. An IoT protocol. So before you get into second approach, an IoT protocol is a TCP/IP protocol, which is MQTT, which is message queue telemetry transport. So this protocol can be communicated or TCP/IP or through WebSockets. Okay, sometimes people use TCP/IP communication, or sometimes people use WebSocket communication, but they use the standard MQTT protocol for transferring the data from user to device and device to user, and it is a bidirectional communication protocol wherein you can send data and the device can send data in either way. So this is a protocol which we are using today is MQTT, message queue telemetry transport. By using this protocol, you can access the device, and the device can communicate a message to you from anywhere across the globe. MQTT protocol. MQTT protocol, the concept was initiated by a company called IBM, and they made it open source. And this protocol is now maintained by Eclipse Foundation with the project name PAHO. So this was the concept which was initiated by IBM. They have seen this protocol. They have seen the strength, and the usage of the protocol, and they made it open source. And this protocol is now maintained by Eclipse Foundation with the project name PAHO. What is this protocol is all about? That is what we have to understand in building an edge device. MQTT protocol is a lightweight communication protocol. So here lightweight refers to the amount of data that is being shared from source to destination is very less. The amount of data that is being shared between the source and destination is very less. When the data size is less, and the speed of communication will be more. When the data size is less, the speed of communication or the time taken to transfer the data is very less, right? So on this concept, people say MQTT protocol is a lightweight communication protocol when you compare with HTTP protocol. So when you compare with HTTP is a heavyweight communication protocol, where MQTT is a lightweight communication protocol. So in MQTT, you'll have four entities. One is called publisher. Publisher is nothing but sender who publishes the message. Second entity is called subscriber, who is nothing but receiver, who receives the message. And three, broker is nothing but connectivity server, which is nothing but a web server where you can access it from anywhere. And fourth, topic, and this is an entity. This is like unique identity for any device to get communicated on this. And when you look at WhatsApp, in WhatsApp also you'll be having the concept of MQTT, wherein in WhatsApp you'll have sender who is sending message. In WhatsApp you'll be having receiver who is receiving message, and the broker is nothing but whatsapp.com, and the topic is nothing but mobile number there. So in every communication platform, you can able to see the MQTT protocol there, because you'll have a sender, and not only in WhatsApp, in Facebook Messenger, or you can say in Gmail, Google Hangouts. You can able to see the same concept in Facebook also. In Facebook, there is a concept called following and followers, and that is a concept of publisher and subscriber. And technically, subscribers are called as followers. Okay. In Facebook, if you post a message on your wall, if you post a message or if you put a status on your wall, the same message will be posted, will be published to your friends, where they can able to see on their news feed, because your friends are subscribers, and you will be acting as a publisher. In Twitter also, in Twitter you'll be having a concept of followers, right? So when you tweet something out in your profile, when you tweet something out on your profile, you can able to see the tweet posted to every follower, where they can able to see the same tweet on their feed, right? So there is a concept called publisher. Publisher is nothing but you who publishes a message. Subscribers are nothing but followers who subscribe on a topic name. What is the topic name here in Twitter? That is nothing but Twitter username, right? Twitter username is nothing but a topic on which your followers are getting the statuses there. So in every communication platform, if you look at, there is a concept of MQTT which is hidden, wherein you'll be having a publisher, you'll be having a subscriber, you'll be having a server. That server is nothing but a connectivity between publisher and subscriber here. In Twitter, if you look at, so Twitter will be acting as a platform in between you and your subscriber. When you look at Instagram, if you post a photo on your Instagram, all your followers can able to get the same photo on their news feed, because they are the subscribers there. So in between you and your subscriber, there is a connectivity platform, there is a server which is connecting you. So that is why in MQTT that kind of server is called broker. Broker is nothing but connecting people. Broker is nothing but connecting publisher and subscriber. For one publisher, you can have multiple subscribers. For one Facebook, if you are having a Facebook account, you can have multiple friends on your Facebook, right? Which is nothing but one publisher, multiple subscribers. In Twitter, you can have multiple followers. In Instagram, you can have multiple followers there. So it means that in MQTT protocol, there can be one publisher, there can be n number of subscribers, and they are all subscribing on a topic. In WhatsApp, mobile number will act as a unique ID. You don't have any WhatsApp username, right? WhatsApp username itself is a mobile number. But in Facebook, you don't see a mobile number as a username. You'll have a Facebook username there. So that Facebook username is a unique identity created by Facebook. Twitter username is a unique identity created by Twitter. In Instagram also, when you're creating an account, it will ask you to create a username. So their username will act as a topic. On that topic, all your subscribers will be able to get the messages or will be able to get the statuses what you keep on your account. Which means that whatever publisher publishes a message, the same thing, all these followers will be able to get the message through a concept of MQTT protocol. So here also we'll be using MQTT protocol and getting communication, in communication between the device and user. So here, let us understand how to create a publisher or how to create a subscriber. Okay. And tomorrow I will show you how to create broker. Okay. Today we don't create a broker. We will use the existing brokers. Okay. We will use the existing brokers, because as MQTT is open source, there are open source brokers also. There are open source brokers. So today let us use the existing broker, because today we'll focus on how to create a publisher, how to create a subscriber. Let us use the existing brokers. Let us make the communication between the device and user, okay, through a hands-on programs. And let us able to access the Raspberry Pi sensory data. Okay, so here broker. What is broker? Broker is nothing but server. Then what is publisher? I'm talking about TCP/IP, and by taking TCP/IP into consideration. Okay, what is publisher? What is subscriber? TCP/IP. When you look at TCP/IP protocol, it always follows. Server client model. One fellow will act as server, the other fellows will act as clients. When here broker will always act as server, because when broker is online, when server is online, then only you can communicate between publisher and subscriber. If Facebook is not working, you cannot put any message on Facebook. Your subscriber cannot get any message, right? If Facebook is offline. If Facebook is online, you can able to push messages. If WhatsApp is not working, you cannot push messages to your friend on WhatsApp. So it means that broker is nothing but a server. If server is online, then you can able to transfer messages between publisher and subscriber. So publisher is nothing but sender, and that is nothing but a client which is connected to broker. A client which is connected to broker. Then what is subscriber? Subscriber is nothing but receiver, and that is also a client which is connected to broker. So how communication will happen here? Publisher will be sending message to broker. Broker can able to classify to which subscriber it has to send message. Okay, because to broker you'll get lot of messages. To broker you'll get lot of messages from here and there, but every message will have a unique identity. will have a unique identity, something like topic name. So the broker will classify that message and understand to which topic, on which topic the publisher is messaging there, and what are the subscribers, who are the subscribers that who have been subscribed to the topic, and to that subscribers this broker will be able to send message, which means that the broker will be sending data to subscribers based on the topic name, based on the identity, or you can say topic or identity. If I want to send a WhatsApp message to my friend, then I should send my WhatsApp, I should select my WhatsApp friend, right? Without selecting friend contact, we cannot send message. If I want to post something in my WhatsApp group, then we have to select the group first. So what will happen in WhatsApp? We have to select a group or a friend to message. Without selecting a group or a friend, we cannot directly send a message, right? In WhatsApp, when you open WhatsApp application, it will try to display what are the previous chats. Then if you want to send a message, you have to select the friend on WhatsApp, and then you'll get a text box to send a message, and you'll be having a submit button where you submit. That message will be sent to the broker. When it is sending a message to broker, the message will be encrypted. The message will be encrypted, and that encrypted message along with the mobile number of your friend will be sent to the broker, and the WhatsApp broker and the WhatsApp server will be identifying, okay, to this number we need to send this message, which is transferred by the publisher. So along with the data of publisher, along with the message, the data will be sent to the subscriber there. So when a data is received by the subscriber, when a data is received by your WhatsApp friend, then the data will be decrypted, because it follows end-to-end encryption. WhatsApp follows end-to-end encryption. So when you are sending message out, when a message is delivered to broker, the message will be encrypted. When a message is received from broker, the message will be decrypted on your phone. So the encryption and decryption, it follows end-to-end encryption. All this encryption and decryption will happen on your WhatsApp application, because every WhatsApp will have a unique end-to-end encryption key that will be there in the settings of your WhatsApp, saying that yes, this is your encryption key, and through that encryption key all your messages will be encrypted and decrypted. Broker will just transfer your messages, which are here. Broker will act like a postman, which collects the message from publisher and transfers the message to subscriber. So here, if you look at server client model, the broker will be acting as a server. Publisher and subscriber will acting as clients. Okay. So publisher, so in some places, sometimes, people assume that subscriber is server and publisher as client. This is wrong. This is an invalid statement, right? This is invalid. Because broker is only a server, and publisher and subscriber are the clients connected to it. Okay. So let us create this publisher and subscriber. Okay, you can open Google Colab. Okay, collab.research.google.com. You can open your Colab. Let's do some hands-on. Collab.research.google.com. You can create a new notebook. Okay. So let us create a new notebook. Okay. So, and this is Python notebook where we can compute some Python scripts here, right? So on class 1 and class 2 also we have used this notebook. So let us install some libraries for establishing a communication between user and device. Okay, so let us install some packages here, and you can install packages by using a command called pip. Pip is nothing but Python package installer. So by using this command, we can able to install any package from Python on notebook. Pip space install space paho-mqdt. Pip space install space paho-mqdt. Yeah, you can enter this command on your notebook, and you can hit play button. Okay, hit run or alt enter. You can hit play button here. So when you hit play button, the paho-mqdt library will be downloaded and will be installed on your notebook instance. So you have to enter this command on your instance. So let us create a publisher client. Okay, here on this instance. So let's click on plus code. Let's create a publisher client. So to create a publisher client, we need to install this library, and we have installed it paho-mqdt. So this paho-mqdt is an open source library from Paho Foundation, from Eclipse Foundation with project name Paho. This paho-mqdt is a Python library. We can use this library for creating publisher and subscriber scripts. Okay, so let us import this library. So on class 1 and class 2, I told you how to import modules and all. So let us use a syntax called import space paho.mqtt.client. So paho.mqtt.client is nothing but a package. It's nothing but a package which is imported from Python source. Okay, as this library is installed here, and this package is imported, and we can have a namespace object as MQTT. So instead of calling paho.mqtt.client every time in the program, we can call it as MQTT. So this is a namespace object. Now we need to connect with broker. We need to create a client object to get connected with broker. So let us understand how to create a client object. And the syntax is client equal to mqtt.C client. Client equal to mqtt.C client. So here a client object will be created, a client instance will be created, and using this client instance we can able to connect with broker, and we can able to publish some messages. Okay, so client and a client ID will be assigned to client variable here. So make sure that you write capital C here. Okay, this is a method name which is defined in MQTT library. mqtt.C client, and you write please write second C as capital, and first C it can be small or capital, it doesn't matter. Okay, that is a user defined variable. But MQTT dot after dot operator, that is a member function, and that member function is nothing but a predefined function which is defined in paho.mqtt.client library. Now let us connect with broker. So to get connected with broker, let us have a try and exceptions. Okay, try client dot connect up. So as we are using open source brokers, you can type in Google MQTT brokers, you'll get a lot of brokers. Okay, out of which broker.hivemq.com. So this is an open source broker. So as I said, brokers will be MQTT brokers. There are some open source brokers. Okay, broker.hivemq.com. So that is one broker. So I'm writing here broker.hivemq.com. And a port number, it is displayed as 1883. Okay, always MQTT broker will be having a port number called 1883 for TCP/IP, and WebSocket it is 8000. Okay, so as we're using TCP/IP, so the port number is 1883. So I'll write 1883 here. So print broker is connected. So broker.hivemq.com, as I said, today we'll be using some existing brokers. So out of which one broker is broker.hivemq.com and accept. Say if there is any mistake in connecting with broker, so this exception will be called print broker connectivity failure. Okay, broker connection is failure. If there is any mistake in connecting with broker, so exception will be called. So in exception, you'll have broker connection failure. So your client object is connected with broker. Your client object is connected with broker, and then we can able to publish messages. So to publish a message, say client dot publish of, so on which topic you want to publish data, so that is important here. So let us have matblocks, okay, as a topic name, comma, which message you want to transfer, say hi, hello, or you can have any message which is written in the second argument. Okay, in the first argument we have to write topic name, in the second argument we have to write message name, and thereby your message will be published to the broker first on this topic name. So this message will be sent to the broker, and when a message is received to the broker, it will be appended into the queue, and the broker will be able to send message to all the subscribers whoever subscribe on this topic name. So the topic name is nothing but matblock. So if there is any subscriber who is subscribed on this topic, so they will be getting messages, right? So this message will be transferred to them. So this is a publisher client, publisher script, where you can able to publish messages on this topic. So it's very simple program. We have to import the module. So after importing the module, we have to create a client object. After creating the client object, you need to go for try and exception, because sometimes you'll get a failure in connecting with broker. So that is why I have used try and except. So in try block, I wrote client.connect. So client.connect is nothing but connecting with broker. So this is an open source broker, broker.hivemq.com, and port number is 1883. If the broker is connected, then in try block it prints broker is connected. If broker is not connected, say if there is any mistake in connecting with broker, then in exception block you'll have broker connection failure. Client.publish, your message will be published there. So let us write subscriber program. Don't run this program because there is no subscriber ready for receiving messages. Okay, we have not write any subscribers here. So let us create one more code block. So if you're done with this code, then I can go for next code block. In the next code block, we have to write a subscriber program. I have not executed publisher program. Okay, I have to write subscriber program also in order to get the output from subscriber. So let us create a subscriber program. So import space paho dot, here also you have to import the same package, dot client as MQTT. And this is a subscriber program. Here also we have to create a client object, client equal to MQTT dot capital C client. And here also we have to connect with broker, same as publisher. So hash, right? In Python it is common. Try client dot connect. Where also we have to connect with same broker. Comma 1883 is a port number. Print broker is connected, except print broker connection failure. So let us subscribe. So here we have to subscribe. So there is a function called subscribe to the matblocks. So when a program is having subscribe method called, then it is subscriber program. When a program is holding a publish method, then it is a publisher. Okay, so you can easily identify which is publisher, which is subscriber. So here we are calling subscribe method, so it is nothing but subscriber program. Okay, so after subscribing to the topic, we have to create a function called notification. So notification function is very important here, because whenever subscriber gets a message, you'll get a notification. Okay, so notification is nothing but a function call which is called automatically. Whenever subscriber gets a message, you need to pass 3 arguments here. One is client object, second one is user data, and third one is message object. So here in notification function, we have to print the message which is transferred. So this is the print statement where the message will be printed as a message will be carried as a payload from broker to subscriber. Okay, this is comment. Okay, for you to understand, I'm just writing this, which is def notification client comma user data comma message. So I've defined a function which is notification function called client comma user data comma message, and print of msg.payload. I'm printing the message, what is the message that is transferred from broker to subscriber. So after this, we have to make a configuration for this notification, which is nothing but client dot on underscore message equal to notification. Client dot loop underscore whatever. So client dot on underscore message equal to notification. On underscore message is nothing but predefined object, which is defined in MQTT library to invoke the function call, to invoke the automatic function call here. So the function which is to be invoked when a subscriber gets a message is nothing but notification here. So that is why you have to write client dot on underscore message equal to notification. Client dot on underscore message equal to notification. So this is subscriber program. Any doubts here? And publisher or subscriber program. So now you can execute the programs. Okay, I'm executing subscriber program. Now broker is connected. Can you run publisher program? Can anyone run publisher program? So you're running publisher programs, right? So I'm able to receive the message. Can you change in the name of hi hello all? Can you change something like your name, or so that I can understand who is sending here? So it means that my subscriber program is able to receive messages from publisher program. Okay. In the similar way, if you run a subscriber program at your on your notebook instance, okay, then you can also able to receive the messages from everyone, because we are all connected in a group. You can also able to receive messages something like me on your notebook instance when you run your subscriber program. Okay, please check it out whether your programs are able to receive messages or not. So please check your publisher program and also subscriber program. If I'm getting messages, it means that your publisher program is working good. Okay, if you are able to receive messages something like me, it means that your subscriber program is also working good, because to get communicated from Raspberry Pi, our publisher program and our subscriber program should work properly. So this is like a test program. So I'm stopping my subscriber. If my subscriber is stopped, it will not receive messages. Okay. So here, if you understand the messages, all the messages which are printed in the subscriber are acknowledged with B, right? You can able to see B single quotation open, the message there. So this B stands for bytes. So the data which is printing here is not printing like a string. Though we are sending string data type, it is printing bytes data type here. So we need to convert that bytes data type into a string data type. All the messages here are printed with B. So the data type of this message which is printing here is bytes data type, and we need to convert that bytes data type into a string data type. So the syntax will be like, t equal to, or instead of printing, you can write t equal to t dot decode of UTF-8. So this is nothing but decoding the data, decoding that value of t with a standard UTF-8. So when you decode that data with a standard UTF-8, so that is called encoded the data. That is nothing but where you can able to see B single quotation message single quotation close. That is nothing but encoded data, and that data was encoded with UTF-8 in MQTT protocol. So we need to decode that data. So when you're decoding that data, you need to pass the same encoding standard, which is nothing but UTF-8. So now when you print t, you'll get only message. You please change this 3 lines, okay? Instead of printing msg.payload directly, store the msg.payload in t value, in t variable, and try to decode the t with UTF-8 standard. So decoding the value of t, which is nothing but converting bytes data type to string data type here. So when you print t, now it should not print b, okay? If the data is encoded, we cannot access the data, okay? We cannot access the data like a string data type. We need to convert that bytes data type into string data type. Thereby we can access every character by using index variable, okay? So make this changes inside notification function and run the program. I'll run the program. The broker is connected. Can someone publish the data? Now when you publish the data, okay, now it should not print B single quotation. It should print only the message, which is nothing but in single quotation, or so message has to be printed here. So I guess only message will be printed. As we have decoded the value of message.payload by taking, UTF-8 as parameter, which is, standard, which is passes an argument to decode. Now the message, the only message has to print instead of B. And someone publish the data. So now the messages are just printing instead of B and all. So the data type here, it is string data type. So give me a second. I'll host Raspberry Pi online. Okay, we can able to grab the data of sensors and all. Give me a second. I'll be back in a minute. Okay. So the Raspberry Pi is online. Let us create a bridge. And you can able to see my screen where I'm using VNC Viewer. VNC Viewer is nothing but a software where it can, it can access the Raspberry Pi. Now Raspberry Pi is connected to my laptop on an IP address called, just I've shown you, right? IP address called 192.168.0.5. This is called private IP address. This is a private IP address here, where you cannot access this IP address outside the network. But we are creating a bridge using MQTT protocol. So by using this IP address, I have connected to my Raspberry Pi using VNC Viewer. This is the home screen of Raspberry Pi. This is the home screen of Raspberry Pi, where you can see VNC is enabled, and it is connected to Wi-Fi router on IP address 192.168.0.5. And you can able to see the home screen of Raspberry Pi. This is welcome. This is like a start menu. You'll have a Raspberry Pi fruit. So you'll have programming options, you'll have internet browser, you'll have graphics here, and you'll be having different types of accessories. So this is like a start menu. So let us talk about Raspberry Pi. Okay, let us talk about Raspberry Pi for a quick while. What is Raspberry Pi and all? So Raspberry Pi, as I said, Raspberry Pi is a computer which is a credit card size computer. The size of the Raspberry Pi is very small, like the size of credit card and debit card. So it is a credit card size computer, which is a programmable computer. So that is why it is very famous. And it is developed in UK by Raspberry Pi Foundation, okay, in 2009, by a computer scientist called Evan Apter, who is working at Broadcom. And the concept of Raspberry Pi Foundation is that it is used to promote the basic computer science in schools, and that is how Raspberry Pi Foundation was started. And they started developing Raspberry Pi boards. So Raspberry Pi, generally it was used to promote basic computer science in schools, right? Generally in schools, students love fruits and all. That is why they named this board as Raspberry Pi, which is a strawberry. Uh, Generally, school kids will love fruits and all, chocolates, fruits and all. So that is why they named it as Raspberry Pi Foundation. And the name of the board is Raspberry Pi board. And Raspberry Pi is just a credit card size computer, and Raspberry Pi is available in different flavors, say Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi 2, Raspberry Pi 3, and Raspberry Pi 4. And this Raspberry Pi 4 is launched recently with a 4 GB RAM, and Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi 2, Raspberry Pi 3 are having only 1 GB RAM. So the amount of RAM, it is always based on the speed of the computer, right? So when you have more RAM, the performance of the computer will increase there. So Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi 2, Raspberry Pi 3 are having 1 GB of RAM, and Raspberry Pi 4 is available in 1 GB, 2 GB, and 4 GB RAM. Okay. So Raspberry Pi 4, again, it is having 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM computers also. So Raspberry Pi is available in different flavors. Generally, Raspberry Pi is one of the key important platform in IoT because Raspberry Pi size is very small and it works like a normal computer, normal laptop. And the second is Raspberry Pi is working on an operating system called Linux operating system. It is free and open source. So that is why this board is very popular. It consumes less power, which is less than 5 watt of power. And Raspberry Pi, it's a great tool for learning programming, and also you can demonstrate a lot of IoT concepts on Raspberry Pi. With different programming languages, it supports C, C++, Java, Python, Ruby, Perl, and all. So mostly people use Python on Raspberry Pi, as Python is open source, as it is having flexible technical support also. So people use Python on Raspberry Pi. And one of the key important platforms in IoT is the Raspberry Pi because, as I said, the cost is very less, and it is a Linux-based board. So as Linux is open source, people are using Linux-based operating systems on their laptops and Windows machines. So Raspberry Pi is a great platform, is a very popular platform in the community. And when you look at Raspberry Pi board, Raspberry Pi will have a motherboard which is from Broadcom, and along with motherboard, it supports RAM. As I said, Raspberry Pi 4 is having 4 GB RAM. Today I'm having Raspberry Pi 3, which is connected to my laptop. It is having 1 GB of RAM. So when you compare with Arduino, so when you look at Arduino, the program memory or the data memory will be in kilobytes. Okay. So the program memory or the data memory of Arduino, when you compare with Raspberry Pi, is very less. So Raspberry Pi will be having 1 GB of RAM. Data memory is 1 GB here. So when you compare with Arduino, it is very faster. Okay, when you look at the program memory, so here it is called ROM. The ROM of Raspberry Pi, it supports up to 256 GB, where the ROM of Arduino will be 256 kilobytes only. But when you look at Raspberry Pi, the ROM is very huge here. And when you compare Arduino with Raspberry Pi is 10,000 times faster than Arduino. Arduino is generally used in low applications, low end applications, where Raspberry Pi is very used in high end applications on IoT. So along with the processor and along with memory unit, you'll be having HDMI port where you can connect HDMI projector or HDMI monitors, and you'll be having a LAN port also, where Arduino doesn't have an HDMI or Arduino doesn't have an Ethernet port. But here you'll be having an Ethernet port where you can plug internet cable and you can apply internet to Raspberry Pi. And you'll be having 4 USB ports here, 4 USB 2.0, but Raspberry Pi 4 is having 4 USB 3.0 protocol. So here there are 4 USB ports where you can connect USB keyboard or USB mouse or USB webcam, or you can connect USB Bluetooth modem or USB Wi-Fi modem at the USB ports of Raspberry Pi, or you can insert USB pen drive also. So where you can access files into the Raspberry Pi. So along with USB ports, you'll be having 3.5 mm jack, which is beside Ethernet port. You'll be having 3.5 mm jack, where you can connect 3.5 mm headset, or you can connect USB speakers and all. So where you can listen music on Raspberry Pi. So along with this, you'll be having CSI beside HDMI and 3.5 mm jack. You'll have CSI. CSI is nothing but camera serial interface, which is used to connect onboard cameras and all. And you'll be having DSI, which is nothing but display serial interfaces. So this display serial interfaces where you can connect display monitors to Raspberry Pi. So along with this, you'll have 40-pin GPIO adapter, so where you can connect sensors, actuators to it. And you'll be having micro USB. Micro USB is nothing but where you can connect power to Raspberry Pi. So all these kinds of peripherals are there on Raspberry Pi. Onboard Wi-Fi is available, onboard Bluetooth is available. HDMI port is available where you can connect monitor and all. It is something like it's something like a cabinet, a small cabinet which is having all peripherals to the normal cabinet. So as I said, processor is Broadcom BCM2837 for Pi 3. The speed of this processor is 1.2 gigahertz. So that is a speed, that is a clock frequency. But when you look at Arduino will be having 16 megahertz of clock frequency, whereas Raspberry Pi is having 1.2 gigahertz of clock frequency here. And ARM Cortex A7, where Arduino comes under AVR microcontrollers. So, but this Raspberry Pi is holding ARM Cortex A7 quad-core processor. And memory, as I said, 1 GB RAM. GPU, graphical processing unit, is also available of 256 MB, which is Broadcom Video Core processor is also there on Raspberry Pi. So as I said, USB 2.0 is available on Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 3, which is 4 USB ports you'll be having. Onboard storage, you'll have SD card slot on the back side of Raspberry Pi where you can connect SD card, which holds the operating system. So you need to mount the SD card on the back side of Raspberry Pi that holds the operating system, Linux operating system. And you'll have networking option on Raspberry Pi. You'll have LAN port, you'll have Wi-Fi on board, so where you can connect internet sometimes through Wi-Fi or sometimes through LAN. Audio outputs 3.5 mm jack is available, or you can connect USB speaker to the Raspberry Pi. And 26-pin GPIO for Model A and Model B, and 40-pin GPIO for Model B+. We are using Model B+. It is having 40-pin GPIO adapter. In 40-pin GPIO adapter, you'll have GPIO pins, you'll have UART pins, you'll have SPI pins, you'll have I2C, you'll have I2S, you'll have power rails. So all these pins are available on GPIO header, which is 40-pin GPIO header. And coming to power source, you should apply a power source of 5 volts and 2 amperes via micro USB, which is available there as A by V. And the operating systems, Raspbian, Debian, Fedora, OpenLX, Arch Linux, ARM, FreeBSD. These are the open source operating systems which are related to Linux. So the official operating system is Raspbian. So this is the official operating system from the Raspberry Pi community. So today we are using the same operating system, Raspbian operating system, that is hosted onto the, that is booted onto the SD card, and that SD card is there on the back side of Raspberry Pi. So when you look at Raspberry Pi and PC, so when you look at cabinet will be having motherboard. Raspberry Pi is also having motherboard. Cabinet will be having hard disk. Here also you'll have an hard disk in terms of SD card. Raspberry Pi will have a RAM. Here also you'll have RAM. Raspberry Pi will have USB ports. Cabinet will also be having USB ports. Raspberry Pi is having 3.5 mm jack. Cabinet will also have 3.5 mm jack. Raspberry Pi will have HDMI connectivity, and here also sometimes the new cabinets will have HDMI. The old cabinets will have VGA connectivity. And Raspberry Pi will be having the power. Here also you'll be having power. Raspberry Pi and cabinet, when you look at comparison of between Raspberry Pi and cabinet, almost they are same, but in cabinet you'll have a huge amount of memory, and the cost of cabinet will be around 25,000 rupees, but the cost of Raspberry Pi is only 3,000, because this is a micro, you'll have less amount of memory, you'll have less number of ports and all. So the cost of Raspberry Pi is 3,000, which is available on the market. The same Raspberry Pi, I'm connecting here on VNC Viewer, which is hosting an operating system called Raspbian Pixel. So Raspbian Pixel, you can download it from raspberrypi.org. You'll have a community website called raspberrypi.org. So from the website of raspberrypi.org, you can download the operating system. You'll have downloads here. So officially it supports Raspbian operating system. Noobs is also alternate for Raspbian operating system, but majority people use Raspbian operating system. Here you can download it. If you click on this Raspbian, the setup, the OS image file will be downloaded onto your laptop, and you can copy that image file. You can boot that image file onto the SD card, and thereby you can mount the SD card on the back side of Raspberry Pi. So when you mount it, you can able to get this kind of screen on Raspberry Pi. The programming on Raspberry Pi, it's not like Arduino. In Arduino, you'll be writing program on Arduino editor, and you'll be uploading that program onto the Arduino board. But when you look at Raspberry Pi, the programming itself has to be written on Raspberry Pi. It is something like a cabinet. Okay, the programming we cannot write on laptop. The programming has to be written on Raspberry Pi only. Okay, it is not like Arduino. In Arduino, you'll be writing a program on laptop, and you'll be uploading the hexadecimal file generated, right? But here the programming has to be written on Raspberry Pi, and that is why we have connected it to my laptop now. I'm writing programs on Raspberry Pi. Here you'll have terminal. You'll have terminal. This is called Linux terminal, which is Raspberry Pi terminal. On this terminal, you need to compute programs on Raspberry Pi. So let us create some subscriber programs. Okay, I'll create a bridge, make directory bridge IoT bridge cd space IoT bridge. So make directory mkdir is nothing but make directory, and cd space IoT bridge is nothing but I'm entering into IoT bridge. So here let us install the pavo-mqdt library. So sudo pip install. Sudo is nothing but super user 2. Pip is nothing but, as I said, Python package installer. So I'm trying to install pavo-mqdt. It is saying it's already there. So let us create the publisher program and subscriber program here. Sudo space nano space mqtt underscore pub.py. Sudo space nano space mqtt. Nano is nothing but name of the editor. Sudo is nothing but super user do. So I'm creating publisher program here. Nano is nothing but notepad and Linux operating system. So when you hit enter, a notepad file will be created with the name mqtt underscore pub.py. So let us copy the program. We wrote the program on notebook, right? So let us copy this program to there, because Python programs are portable, right? You can run the program in any operating system. So let us copy paste the program. So here, instead of publishing the message directly, I'll read the message. So while one colon, or I'll start from here. While one colon. Say k equal to input of enter message. So on class 2 and class 1, I told you what is input, right? Input is nothing but a function which works like scanf. So instead of sending a fixed message, I'm just sending the message k. So in this program, when you run this program, broker is connected, enter message. So it is asking me to enter message. I can send any message here. Hi, hello. Hi, this is Madhu. Something like this. Okay, let me typecast the data. Sudo space. Let me typecast the data to string. What is this? Okay, strf, as it is Python 2. We need to write strf raw underscore input. So let me run the program. Sudo Python mqtt. So enter message. Hi, this is Madhu. Say. So again, you can able to see the same message on subscriber program. So here is a message. hi, this is Madhu. You can able to see it on my Notepad instance, which is running on my Google Colab. So I'm sending message from Raspberry Pi. I'm sending message from Raspberry Pi. You can able to get the same message on Notepad instance on Google Colab. Okay, so it means that from Raspberry Pi it is able to receive message. So in the similar way, let us write a subscriber program also. Sudo nano. Let us create a program. If you want to create a program on Raspberry Pi, sudo nano. If you want to execute the program, sudo python. So sudo is nothing but super user do. Here pi at Raspberry Pi. You can able to see the shell pi at Raspberry Pi, which means that pi at Raspberry Pi is nothing but pi is nothing but username, and Raspberry Pi is nothing but name of the desktop. Okay. So pi is not a super user. Pi is not a super user. You'll have two different types of users on Raspberry Pi operating system. One is called Pi. Second one is called root. Now you can able to see root at the rate of Raspberry Pi. Root at the rate of Raspberry Pi is nothing but super user. Pi at the rate of Raspberry Pi is nothing but normal user. So when you log in onto Raspberry Pi, automatically the Raspberry Pi operating system will be logged in into Pi user. Pi user is a normal user, whereas root user is a super user. That is called SU. SU is nothing but super user here. But as the programs are written from Pi user, we need to take permission from super user. We need to take permission from root user. So that is why always people write sudo. Sudo is nothing but taking permission from super user to create a program which is like nano. Nano is nothing but name of the editor. So I'm using nano editor to create a program called mqtt_sub.py. It means that. So an empty file is created. I'll copy the program. I'll copy this program, subscriber program, which is written. I'll paste it here. So subscriber program also I'm saving it Control X. So when you press Control X, it will ask yes or no. So when you hit S, the program will be saved. It is something like Notepad in a normal. So let me run the subscriber program here, mqtt_sub.py. It is saying broker is connected. So let me run the publisher program also here on the same Raspberry Pi, mqtt_pub.py. Sorry, we need to enter into IoT bridge, right? Okay, sudo python mqtt_pub.py. So enter message, say hi, this is Madhu. You can able to see the message on the Raspberry Pi also, which is saying that hi, this is Madhu. So if you send message from your publisher on your Notepad instance, that has to print on Raspberry Pi shell. Okay. So can you someone send message from your notebook instance? The same message it has to display on my. Can you run publisher program at your on your Notepad instance so that I can able to see the message on my Raspberry Pi? You can stop the cell. Okay, you can stop the cell, and you can run the publisher cell. Okay, you can stop the subscriber cell and you can run the publisher cell, and thereby you can stop the subscriber cell and you can run the publisher cell. Okay, when one cell is running, the other cell will not run. You need to stop the previous cell. Okay, so now from your Notepad instances, my Raspberry Pi is able to receive data. Okay, let us connect LED with Raspberry Pi. Let us write a program. So this is a GPIO header of Raspberry Pi. So as I said, Raspberry Pi B is having 26 pin GPIO header, and Raspberry Pi B plus is having 40 pin GPIO header. So there are some Raspberry Pis with 26 pin GPIO header. There are some Raspberry Pis with 40 pin GPIO header. So when you look at GPIO header, general purpose input output header, every pin will have some certain functionalities here. Not every pin is GPIO. So as I said, there are some power rails, something like 3.3 volts and ground, 5 volts and ground. You have power supply pins here. Pin number 2 is 5 volts. Pin number 4 is also 5 volts. Pin number 1 is 3.3 volts. And pin number 9 is ground. Pin number 6 is ground. Pin number 14 is ground. Pin number 17 is 3.3. So there are some power supply pins. There are some GPIO pins in yellow color. GPIO 4, GPIO 17. So pin number 1 is not GPIO1, okay? Pin number 40 is not GPIO40. That is what you have to understand. Every pin in the GPIO header is not a GPIO pin. Every pin in the GPIO header is not a GPIO pin. Okay, without looking at GPIO header, you cannot connect any peripheral with Raspberry Pi. If you want to connect any peripheral, you have to understand what is the GPIO header. Okay, which pin is working in which way, because there are some power supply pins, there are some GPIO pins here. Okay, so there is no GPIO1 in the header, there is no GPIO40 in the header. There is no GPIO1, there is no GPIO40. So every pin is having some specific functionalities here. Every pin is a specific functionality pin, okay? Not every pin is GPIO. So let us connect an LED with Raspberry Pi, okay? Let us connect an LED with Raspberry Pi. Let us connect an LED with Raspberry Pi. Let us create a program. Sudo space nano space led.py. Okay, I'm creating an LED program here, led.py. So LED, what is LED? In Arduino also, I guess you have simulated LED example, right? LED is nothing but an output peripheral. Okay, here LED, to make it on, you have to assign high logic. To make it off, you need to assign zero logic. So that is how LED is connected here on Raspberry Pi. So here LED is connected to, say, GPIO2. Where is GPIO2 located? GPIO2, according to the header, it is located at pin number 3. It is located at pin number 3. Okay. Now what I wanted to do is, I wanted to control this LED from your notebook instance. Okay, I wanted to control this LED from your notebook instance. To control this LED from this notebook instance, what I have to do? I have to import the library. I have to import the library called paho dot, or I'll import rpa.gpio library first. rpa.gpio. rpa.gpio is a new library. So till now we have used only paho.mqtt.client, but now we are using a library called rpa.gpio. So this rpa.gpio library has to be imported. If you want to access the GPIO header of Raspberry Pi. Now we are accessing GPIO2. We are accessing GPIO2 at pin number 3. So I am importing rpa.gpio library. I'll create a namespace object called GPIO. So this library has to be imported if you want to access GPIO pins. So here LED is connected to GPIO2. So I have to import this library here. So import space time. Time is nothing but built-in library. In Arduino, you'll have a delay function, delay off. But here you don't have any delay function. You'll be having a library called time. So I'm importing time library, and also I'm importing rpa.gpio library to access the GPIO header. So here accessing numbering standard. Okay, you need to, because on Raspberry Pi there are two different types of numbering standards here. On Raspberry Pi there are two different numbering standards. One numbering standard is called board numbering standard. This is one type of numbering standard. Board numbering standard will always have numbering standard like 1, 2, 3, so on 40, which are written in the black color, okay, in the middle. 1, 2, 3, so on and 40. And second numbering standard is called BCM numbering standard. So this BCM numbering standard will always start with a label called GPIO. So when you look at the header, there are only some pin numbers which are having GPIO, which is nothing but GPIO2, GPIO3, GPIO4, and so on. There are some labels there are some pins with some labels like GPIO. So this is called BCM numbering standard, which means that in BCM numbering standard, there is GPIO2, which is nothing but 2. In board numbering standard, to the same pin, to the same GPIO2, there is a pin number allocated called pin number 3. Pin number 3, which is nothing but 3. In BCM, that pin is called GPIO2. In board numbering standard, the same pin is called pin number 3, which is 3. It means that there are two different numbers allocated to the same pin. There are two different numbers called 2 in BCM, called 3 in board, which is allocated to the same pin. So in Raspberry Pi, if you want to access the pin, you need to talk about which numbering standard you are following in the program. If you write 2 in the program directly, then the Raspberry Pi will get confused. What is this 2? Is it pin number 2 or GPIO2? So Raspberry Pi will get confused. It cannot understand what is this 2 is all about. Is it pin number 2 or GPIO2? That is why in Raspberry Pi, before accessing the peripheral, you need to mention the mode of numbering standard here. The mode of numbering standard is nothing but set mode. So this is a function call which is used to configure the numbering standard first. If you want to access BCM numbering standard, you have to write m.bcm. Or if you want to access board numbering standard, you have to write m.board. GPIO.bcm and GPIO.board. As the namespace object is GPIO, you need to write GPIO.bcm or GPIO.board. If you write GPIO.bcm, if you write 2 in the program, then the Raspberry Pi will understand that, okay, this is only GPIO2. Because in the numbering standard, you have passed as an argument called BCM, GPIO.bcm. Then the Raspberry Pi will easily understand that this 2 is GPIO2. This 2 is GPIO2. So here, you need to, now this is a time to access GPIO peripheral. GPIO peripheral. To access a GPIO peripheral, GPIO.setup. In Arduino also you'll have void setup. In Arduino you'll have pin mode. So here it is called setup, GPIO.setup of what is a pin number that you want to access. What is a pin number that you want to access. So here it is nothing but 2, because in the previous line we have mentioned it as BCM. So this 2 refers to GPIO2. That is what Raspberry Pi will understand. If you write board in the previous line, you have to mention 3. But here in the previous line, as I mentioned BCM, so I have to write 2 comma GPIO.out. So it means that to GPIO2 there is an output peripheral connected. Output peripheral connected. So in Arduino, what is the syntax in Arduino? Pin mode of 2 comma output. So here we used to write in Raspberry Pi as GPIO.setup of 2 comma GPIO.out. Now the GPIO2 can be accessed. Or if you are using GPIO.board in the previous line, then this line should be changed to GPIO.setup of 3 comma GPIO.out. So this line has to be written if you want to access board numbering standard. Okay, if you are accessing board numbering standard, so this line has to be changed to GPIO.setup of 3 comma GPIO.out. Then assigning logic. So what I said here, GPIO.output is nothing but digital write in Arduino. In Arduino, you will have digital write to assign logic. So here in Raspberry Pi, you will have output function to assign logic. GPIO.output of what is a pin number? GPIO2. So 2 comma. If you want to assign high logic, then you can write 1. In Arduino, you will be writing high and low. High is nothing but 1. Low is nothing but 0. When you assign 1 logic here, when you assign second argument as 1, then Raspberry Pi will assign 1 logic. 1 is nothing but high. What is high? High is nothing but 5 volts at GPIO2. So when you write GPIO dot output of 2 comma 0, then what will happen? Raspberry Pi will assign 0 logic, that is nothing but low, that is nothing but 0 volts at GPIO 2. So when you're assigning high logic, if you want to assign high logic, second argument should be 1. If you want to assign low logic, second argument should be 0. In Arduino, you'll have digital write function, but in Raspberry Pi, you'll have output function here. Output function is nothing but assigning logic. First argument is nothing but to which GPIO pin you want to assign. Second argument is nothing but what logic you want to assign. So this is a simple program to assign high and low logic. So when you assign high logic, what will happen? What I said here, when you assign high logic, your LED will become on. When you assign 0 logic, your LED will become off. That is how hardware circuit is mounted on Raspberry Pi here. So at my place, an LED is connected to GPIO 2, and when you assign high logic, that LED will become on. Okay, and this is a simple program. So if you make it 1, your LED will become on. When you make it 0, LED will become 0. Okay, now if you run this program, so if you want to exit Control X, you need to press Y to save the program and enter. Now if you run this program, the LED will become on, and the LED is there with me, so the LED will be on. In the place of in the place of 1, if you write 0, in the place of 1, if you write 0, the place of 1, if you write 0, the place of 1, if you write 0, LED will become off. But you will get runtime warning saying that it's already in use. So you can disable this warning. Now the LED is off. You can disable this warning by writing GPIO dot set warnings as false. So now there is no warning. The warning has been disabled. Now the LED is off. What logic we have assigned to make LED off? We have assigned 0 logic. So when you are assigning 0 logic, your LED will become off. When you are assigning 1 logic, your LED will become on. So in this program, what we did, we have imported the module rpa.gpio, and we have imported time module also. I'll tell you why I have imported this later. And then I've disabled the warnings to false, set warnings as false. GPIO at set mode of GPIO.bcm. So this is for numbering standard, setting the numbering standard. After setting the numbering standard, you need to access the GPIO peripheral by assigning out or in. If it is input peripheral, we have to write in. If it is output peripheral, we have to write OU to out. And then we have assigned logic by using output function here. And to the output function, we are calling some arguments. The first argument is pin number, to which GPIO pin you want to send data. And second argument is a logic that you want to assign. Okay. So this is a basic example. Okay. Now I'll write the main program. So MQTT LED.py. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll write LED driver. I'll create a new program here. Import space rpa.gpio as GPIO. Import space type. So here I will disable the warnings. GPIO.set warnings as false. And then I'll configure the numbering standard as GPIO.bcm. And I will configure the LED, say 2, GPIO.out. Def LED on. So I'm creating functions here. Print LED is requested to be on. Is requested to be on. And then to assign to make LED on, we need to assign logic. So GPIO.output of 2, 1. Okay. And def LED off. Print print LED is requested to be of GPIO dot output of 2 comma 0 def LED toggle. Say if you want to toggle LED, if you want to toggle LED, we need to make iterative loop, right? Toggle for, you know how for loop will access in Python, right? For I in range of 3, or you can say range of 5. For I in range of 5, what do you mean by range of 5? Range of 5 is nothing but start from 0, end by n minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is how range of 5 is defined in Python. Now we need to toggle LED. So toggling LED is nothing but making LED on, and after some time delay, time dot sleep of 0.5, which means 0.5 second. Okay, there is no delay function here, delay of, so the delay of function is replaced with time dot sleep, GPIO dot output of 2 comma 0, time dot sleep of 0.5. So LED toggle function, this is defined here, and a simple for loop. So here what will happen, this LED will be toggled for 5 times, as we are having a list of 0, 0 to 4. So your LED will be on, after 0.5 second your LED will become off, after 0.5 second again it will be iterated to back, right? So like this 4 statements will be iterated for 5 number of times. So LED will be toggled. Toggling LED is nothing but blinking LED, making LED on, after some delay making LED off, after some delay again making LED on and LED off. Okay, so like this 5 number of times your LED will be toggled. Okay, so let us import paho.mqtt.client as MQTT. Okay, let us create a client object, client equal to mqtt.capital C client, and let us connect with broker, try colon client.connect of broker.hivemq.com, 1883. So this is the port number. I'm saying print broker connected. Okay, except colon print broker connection failure. Okay, I will do one. Instead of writing here, we'll write in this different file. Okay, so we can be able to call it. I'll do one thing. I'll write in a different file because this will be complicated if I write here. So anyways, so here we have defined 3 functions: LED on, LED off, and LED toggle. So let's exit this program. Let us create one more file. Sudo nano. So mqtt ack.py. Let us create one more file. So here, let us import paho.mqtt.client as MQTT. So let us define a function def. Let us create a client object before that. Client equal to mqtt.capital C client, and let us define a function here def send to user. Okay. Here let us connect with broker. Try client.connect broker.hivemq.com, 1883. Print broker is connected except print broker connection failure. Same program we are writing inside the function, and then after connecting with broker we can publish the data client dot publish of, say our topic name is matblocks, comma t. Okay, so the same program we wrote inside a function called send to user. So this is a function called here. I'll call this function. I'll call this function from from this program driver underscore led.py. I'll call the function here import mqtt underscore ack as ack, which is acknowledgement. So I'll try to send the logic from here. Ack dot send underscore to underscore user of led is on. Okay. So here also I'll send ack dot send underscore to underscore user of led is off. So here also ack dot send underscore to underscore user of led is toggled. So this is an acknowledgement sending back to the user, remote user. User is not here on Raspberry Pi. Okay, user is nothing but who are sending the message to the Raspberry Pi from a remote area. So you are there in the remote area. I'm there at Raspberry Pi. So this is LED driver program. I'm just saving this file. I'll jump back to subscriber program. Okay. In the subscriber program, I'll try to compare. If t double equal to LED on, okay, if t double equal to LED on, then I'll call LED on function. And if t double equal to LED off, I'll make LED off function. And if t double equal to toggle, LED toggle, LED toggle function. I'll import the file here. Imports from space. I can have the different syntax, right? From space driver underscore LED space import space star. Okay, I have imported the LED driver program which we wrote here. This program has been imported to this file subscriber program. Now what you will do is you have to publish the data. I'll make the subscriber program running. You have to publish the data, something like LED on. So there is no space between LED and on. Okay, can you send someone LED on? You need to send LED on. Now the LED at Raspberry Pi will be on. You'll be getting an acknowledgement saying that LED is requested to be on. Yes, LED is on. Hope you have got LED colon on, right? Can send someone LED off. No space between LED and off. LED, yes, LED is off, and also you'll be getting an acknowledgement saying that LED colon off. Can send someone LED toggle. Yes, LED is toggled, and you'll get LED is toggled at your place. So on your cell you'll get LED toggled there. Now LED is toggled for five times based on the command that you have sent to this Raspberry Pi. And now the Raspberry Pi can be anywhere, user can be anywhere. You can simply send some commands like LED on, LED off, and LED toggle, and your LED will be on and off and toggled by using these scripts. Tomorrow I'll connect camera. Okay, tomorrow I'll connect camera to my laptop so that I will show you the Raspberry Pi and all. As the time is up, tomorrow I'll show you the hardware output also. And this is a software output wherein you'll be getting some acknowledgements based on the command that you send to the Raspberry Pi. It's simply working on MQTT protocol, publisher, subscriber, and broker. Right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We'll meet you tomorrow. Have a good day.